Okay, it is time to start, and I would like to say hello and welcome to a webinar dedicated to Guideline Geo's brand new post-processing software, MALÅ Vision Desktop. My name is Andreas Viberg, and I am the product manager of the MALÅ GPR range of products. I have a background as an archaeological geophysicist, and I started to work for Guideline Geo in 2017, so this will be my 7th year with the company. We will soon have a brief look at the outline of the webinar, but before that, I will hand over briefly to my very capable and knowledgeable colleague, Mike Langton, for his introduction. Mike.
Thank you, Andreas. My name is Mike Langton. I'm one of the senior application engineers at Guideline Geo, and I look after predominantly the MALÅ brand of GPRs. I've been around GPRs now, it's my 20th year actually. I've just gone past my 20th anniversary since the first time I handled a GPR, and that was in the very early stages, an ease locator. But yeah, my background is electronic and electrical engineering, and I sort of fell into the remote sensing instrumentation many years before I started with the GPR, but predominantly around that remote sensing technology. So I guess that's me. And back to you, Andreas.
Thank you very much. The content or outline of the webinar looks something like this. We will start with a short company presentation to provide you with a very short introduction to Guideline Geo, who we are and what we do. The rest of the webinar will be dedicated to MALÅ Vision Desktop, where we will start you off with a short introduction to the software and its capabilities. And after that, I will hand over to Mike for the demo segment of the webinar before I return in the end with some concluding remarks. Before we move into the presentation, I would like to mention that you all have the opportunity to ask questions during the presentation. Just add them to either the chat window directly or to the Q&A window, and we will circle back to them in the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. We will also, as per usual, upload this webinar to the Guideline Geo YouTube channel. So if you have missed a part of the presentation, you will have an option to catch up at a later point. So again, a warm welcome to you all, and let's begin. So Guideline Geo are world leaders in geophysical solutions and have been so for quite some time. We actually celebrated our 100-year anniversary last year, which was really exciting and something that we are very proud of. Our products are both developed and manufactured in Sweden, and apart from Sweden, we also have a very strong global reach through our different offices around the world and our extensive distributor network, which currently covers around 90 countries around the world. This brings us close to our customers, and we have a close collaboration with both customers, universities, and partners. And this is just a map highlighting our main Guideline Geo facilities. You can see from Sydney in the east to Las Vegas in the west. The head office or main office of Guideline Geo is situated in Stockholm, Sweden, and we are situated, both me and Mike, in different parts of Europe. I am in Umeå, where the R&D office is situated, and Mike is in Manchester. On top of that, we also have, of course, our very trusted and talented partners all over the world. And as I said, this brings us very close to all of the customers and makes us able to help you very fast when you need us the most. So Guideline Geo consists of 2 different brands. It's ABEM, which is resistivity, seismics, and TEM instruments. And we then have the MALÅ side, which we're going to focus on today, which is the ground penetrating radar side of the company. We have, as I mentioned, a very close collaboration with many different partners and customers across the globe, and this is just a short list of some of the companies that we are collaborating with or have in the past. We also have a very close collaboration with many academic institutions and universities, and this is also a short summary or list of some of them that we have collaborated with over the years. Okay, so let's dive into MALÅ Vision Desktop and talk briefly about what that is. So MALÅ Vision Desktop is, as I mentioned, our latest post-processing software for GPR data. In its first release, it's mainly focused on the post-processing of array data, but we are continuously adding more and more support for single-channel data as well as we move forward. So you can easily create high-resolution depth slices, visualizing the subsurface. We also are very proud of helping you along the way with default settings and recommendations. We would like to be your guide to the subsurface, and this also extends obviously to our software. And these recommendations and default settings will help you to immediate results in a very fast and easy way. So it's all about getting you started quickly, adding all the guidance you need built into the software. You can combine your data collected with your GPR instruments with maps, such as Mapbox or Google Maps. And you can also interpret those data sets and then export it to any standard format, such as CAD, GIS, or GeoTIFF formats. So we're pretty proud about our workflow. So it's the fastest workflow on the market, going from data collection to end results. And that is something that we're really proud of. We have previously used a software called RSlicer, and we are proud to say that it's even faster than RSlicer. We also feature best-in-class interpolation and migration. We want you to get really crisp and clear data. So the interpolation and migration routines are something that we have spent a lot of time perfecting so that you will get really good results when you're looking at your data after data collection. And in the software, and Mike will shortly return with a more in-depth look at all of that, are several powerful features that will help you get to these great results faster. So intuitive and powerful filters. It's easy to add them, easy to adjust them, and with our added guidance, we will help you to the right settings quicker. We also have something called the pond view, which help you in an easier way see details at different depth at the same time, which is really useful when looking at GPR data, where features can sometimes move from different parts of the soil to another. So that's a great overview. We also have something called topographic pond view, which will add a 3D effect. In some cases, that makes the interpretation much clearer and easier. So we'll have a look at that as well. And also a trench view. So visualizing the GPR data or the depth slices at the correct depth. We also have a demo project, which you can instantly access when you are moving into or opening the software. And that is data from Norway and from a Viking ship data set. So we will have a brief look at that now, and then we will look at another demo data set when Mike is moving into the demo section of the presentation. So first one is from Gjellerstad in Norway with mirror data collected in this field that you can see here. And here you see some interpolated results with trench view activated. Then you can activate pond view to get that feel for what's situated at different depths. You can also tweak the settings a bit to make it clearer. And then you can add sort of the topographic effect of the pond view to make interpretation easier. So we've located our interesting pattern, and then you can go ahead with the interpretation, just drawing straight onto the depth slice. It's all very easy to use. It will give you great results with a very fast workflow. So as I mentioned, we want you to get from data collection to your end result, interpretation and export as soon as possible. So a lot of thought has gone into making that process optimized. Okay, so with that short introduction to the software, I would like to hand over to Mike to demo this to us as well, and then have a look at how it works in reality, and have a look at some great data, I think. Right, Mike?
Perfect. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Andreas, for that introduction. You mentioned about the workflow. I just want to just open up the Mira controller app just to start off with. For those that are using the Mira controller, you'll notice on the export page of that software that we have the option to export to the MALÅ Vision Desktop, and this gives us a seamless export out of the data collection software into the post-processing software. So that's something that I just wanted to highlight there, and that makes it quick and easy just to work from the field straight into the post-processing. This is one of the great things, actually. After you've collected data, end of the day, you can have a quick check to make sure your data quality is looking good. So when you open up the MALÅ Vision software, this is the welcome page. Before I start going through all the different options here, let me just go to the top left-hand corner and to the menu options here. Various different selections and parameters that we can choose from down here. Just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. If we go into the application settings, for example, here we can change some of the default options, and particularly like the color plot scale options here. You can select what you'd like. If you prefer color schemes, etc., you can go for these as a default. Another big option here is the interpolation on project start. So if you want to instantly start to interpolate as the project's open, you have the option here. Various different other options here for changing into imperial and metric, etc. And then one other good feature down this list here that's quite nice is the help and support option. Here you can go ahead and ask a question, or you may want to have some user input, and you can write a message in the box option here. This automatically gets sent through. The next time you connect to the internet, it will come through to us, and there's a team of us within the organization that look after and monitor the information or questions that are coming in from the customers, and we will respond to your questions or feature inputs, etc. here. So this is a really good feature to get information back to us very quickly and easily, and especially if it's something that's not super urgent. Other options down there, you've got the account settings, you can go into your project options, etc., and we can check things like the version of the software that you've got, and you can log out at the bottom there. Okay, so let's just go back to the start again. Here we can start a new project. So if you have some data, you can import the data from the new project option, or we can go ahead and open projects. And if you go into this section here, you can see a list of projects here and folders as well. We can create folders and put projects into the folders, etc. When we go to the start project option, the new project option, we can just simply click and drag files from an already collected data set into the window here. We can browse files or folders, and we can even import zipped folders here as well. But here I've already started a project, and you can see there's a list of profiles in here. This also gives you the option at this point, if you wish to remove any of the data, any of the swaths that may want removing, you can easily just deselect these by hitting the X on the side. So when we go to the processing tab now, you'll notice that I'm working from left to right across the top here. If I go to the process option next, you'll see that the data opens pretty much instantaneously. And I can just take a very quick look at the data, rotate around, zoom in, zoom out, move the data around. And I'm just using this by the left and right mouse button on my mouse and the roller wheel as well, just to zoom in, zoom out. So this is the 3D view that you're looking at now. We have some other options across the top here. We can select the 2D view and also the sitemap. I'll come back to these in a second. When you open up the project, the software will automatically select a pre-approved list of filters that's going to be suitable for your data set. This is automatically done. And here it's selected this list. Now you can quite easily switch these on and off, or even delete them if you want to do that. You notice here the 2D view. I prefer to see things that are not migrated or unmigrated and no envelope. So this is a classic 2D view here. So I can quickly select and deselect some of these filters as necessary. If I have any filters that I want to add, that's just quite simple, just to hit the add filter button, and there's a list of different options that you can add to your data set. Let's just try one very quickly. Let's add a little bit of bandpass filter in, and this is quickly, just I'll click and drag a section here, and that has applied the bandpass filter very, very quickly to that data set. I can delete that or deselect it if necessary. Just below the filter options here, we have the display options here. For instance, we can increase and decrease the contrast value. We have gray balance options, brightness, and aspect ratio. And this is just to stretch or contract the 2D view. So these are just basically the options for the displaying the data when we are looking at the data in both 3D and 2D. Another option at the bottom here, if you like or prefer to have a color plot scale, we just hit the button here, hit the bar, should I say, and we can quite quickly select from a list of pre-selected color schemes which ones you want. Also, you can also flip, so we can reverse the color scale from one color to the other if you like to reverse that around quite quickly. I prefer to see grayscales personally, so I'd like to go back to the grayscales there. So this is the 2D and the 3D option. And whilst I'm on this section here, we have the site map view as well. And this is where we can see the individual swaths that I've collected in this project. And you'll also notice these boxes that have been inserted into the data. This is when I come to the 3D options for interpolation, and I'll run through that in a few minutes. And we can deselect these and go back to the 3D view for now. So on the screen here, I've got the option to also control the contrast at this point, because when I go to one of the other tabs on the right hand side, I will lose this information here. So you can quickly just, like I say, just select the contrast value you'd like. Also on the menu options here, we can select and deselect some of the different options. Andreas mentioned about the trench view, pond view, etc. So if I switch off the pond view, I will go back to the typical grayscales that you may be familiar with. I can reselect that. And the trench view, at the minute I've got the trench view selected. If I rotate around, you'll see as I go up and down the time slice, you can see that dipping below ground level. You can bring that above ground level if you like to do that. It's in the option there. like so. So those are different options down for viewing the data in the 3D. So moving over to the right-hand side, then we've got a few menu options down the right here. If I go to the Interpretation tab, then this is where I can insert either markers, polylines, or polygons. There's three options. If I select polylines, you can insert the polylines directly into the time slice, the 3D view, or if I just go back and select the 2D option, I can insert the polylines and markers into this data set here. If I do insert markers into here, I can later then connect them to create a polyline if I wish to do so. So running down the tabs then, so we've got the filters, interpretation, the next one is the analysis. Here is where I can maybe do some like the velocity analysis. So I can do things like add hyperbola into the data set. If I want to check the velocity, for instance, I'm going to choose this hyperbola here. We can quickly just insert a hyperbola, and I'm just going to use the options to increase or decrease. I can use the keyboard as well just to increase or decrease that value. So then I'm looking to match the true hyperbola with the false hyperbola to check the velocity. If you do find a value, then we can insert it manually at this point here. And then we can just deselect that if necessary. For those of you who would like to have a look at the wiggle trace, we can take a look at the wiggle trace option here. And if necessary, we can flip the profiles. And finally, if you wish, you can change the vertical axes on the 2D radargram from time to depth being based on the velocity that I've selected at this point here. So down to 3D settings now. We have a few options on here. I'm going to go to the cogwheel at the top to enter the interpolation settings. So here is where we can select things like the interpolation values. I've selected the interpolation value of 0.065 here, and that's to match the profile spacing within the swaths. But you can quite easily and quickly just insert different values based on the type of data that you've collected. A few different options here for the absolute values. Use thickness. This is particularly useful if you'd like to look at a time slice across a range, a window of depth. And here I've selected 20 centimeters. If I deselect this use thickness, then the pond view option will no longer be available. But if you want to use a pond view, then select the thickness. And we've also got the 3D migration option at this point. If I deselect or select any of these, once I've done that, then I can hit the play button here for interpolate, and that will then run the routine. Oh, by the way, just one thing to mention here. If I go back to filters, whatever you've selected here will be applied to that interpolation when I hit the button. So here I might want to select the FK migration and envelope before I went and hit the play button to start in interpolation at this point. And when we talk about interpolation, we have a couple of options to interpolate within swaths or within defined areas. And if I just reselect the sitemap, this is where we can select here, as I have done, several areas. Slightly awkward shape of data that I've collected here, but to interpolate just within those areas, we can quickly select. And there's a new one selected. You can quickly just move these around and resize them and rotate them very quickly, and this enables you to just interpolate within these areas very quickly. If I make any changes at this point, then we just hit the interpolate button again on that one. Again, we can just go to color schemes and change the different options down there as well. One good feature I've got here, if I just go back on the left-hand side, I can pull out this left-hand tab here, and this is where if I select the 2D, I can quickly select a profile, and I can run down the different swaths within the area, and I can select different profiles within each swath, like so. Or, as I've got here, I've actually got the threshold value set to maximum. That means that I won't see any data within the 3D view, but I will see the swath position by hovering over the top. And if I just click over a feature or swath that I'm interested in, then that will automatically change at the bottom here. Let me go back to that typical 2D view that we are used to. So we can quickly select a swath, and then when I'm in the swath, I will just use the page up and page down key to quickly run through each one of the profiles or channels within that swath. This is a very quick way of navigating yourself around the data set. Super quick. This also helps when we're doing interpretation, when we're inserting the markers into the data as well. And you'll notice as I look at the data and I run my mouse across the data, if you can just see that in the 3D view, you can actually see the position of where I am within that data on the 3D. So if I want to need to identify, let's say, this target, I can see exactly where it is by looking at the 3D view and seeing where the white highlighter is, showing me what the position is over the mouse. So that's a very quick and effective way of checking my positioning within the time slice data at the top. If I just pull that back down, then I will start to introduce the data into the project, into the 3D view at this point as well, so we can mix the time slice and the data if you wish to do that. And like I say, you can just switch that completely off, but use that feature there of being able to highlight where I want to be and look at the 2D profile very quickly. So next on the options down the right hand side is the sitemap options. Let's reactivate that. And we have the options here, like Andreas highlighted this a little bit earlier, and we can switch to things like Google Maps, View, etc. And back again very quickly, and a few different options there. And the other thing as well, if there are any errors within the positioning, and let me just select one of these profiles, swath should I say. Let's hit the start edit option, and here I can select one of the GPS measurement points, and I can quickly just move that in case there's been any errors in the GPS information, the position information that's been coming in from the external positioning. I'm just going to hit cancel for this, and that will just revert back to what it was. So a very quick way of just editing the position, and just if you need to just tweak those a little bit, etc. This box that you can see, the dotted box, is the view that I'm looking at on this side. If I just rotate that to vertical, the red line is facing north, so I've just rotate that back around. That is in the same position in both windows there. Okay. So once you've finally worked through the data and you've done your interpolation, then we can go to the export options. And let me show you some of the export options. Two options here. We've got the open report, and if I just click on that, you'll see down the left-hand side there are some images. If I just go back to the process tab, you'll notice there is the camera option on the top here, and this is to take a screenshot. So if you have something particularly interesting to look at, or something that you want to highlight in your project, you can just position the data hit the camera, that has saved that image. We can look at the images on the bottom here. We can highlight the image. You can look at the different options. And you'll also notice there's another option down the bottom there where we've got the project plan. This is where when I've created the project in the Mira Controller app, I can enter information about the project. So going back to the export option, if I open up the report, I can select some of these images to go into the report, all or some of them, and then I can start to enter some text about the background, the method, results and conclusions of the data after interpretation. And then I can export to PDF or export that to a Word document so you can do some further editing if needed. And then finally onto the export data option here. I can do various different things here and all at the same time if needed. So it's saying here I want to export, in this case, the GPR data. That's fairly straightforward. I can also add some additional things here. So if I look at this, I can add some time slices. And this is where we can export the images of the time slices. And I want to select all slices. And I've got a couple of options here of exporting as a PNG or a GeoTIFF. And you'll notice that sometimes if I select something, I have the cogwheel at the side. So I can look at the export options here. And in this case here, there are things like show project name, file name, depth, time, etc. And I can select or deselect these if required. I also have the option to export interpretations. I can export markers, polylines, just the polylines, and various different options down the list. And I can export out as a text file, CSV file, KMZ or KMZ for our American attendees, and then also DXF. And I'm just going to select DXF as an option there. And if I go to the cogwheel here, I can actually change the projection. It's set to WGS84 here, and you've lots of different options to select your local projection if required for the DXF exports. So if you make any changes there, just hit save and close. And then finally, we can export the media files. The media files are either imported media files whilst you've been collecting the data, or the snapshots that I've taken whilst I've been processing the data, and no real option there. If you want, you can select or deselect any of this list as I go through here. And then when I hit the export, it will go to, in this case, this folder here, or you can select a different folder if need be. And that all that data will be zipped together, placed into that folder for export. So I think that is a fairly rapid run through of the MALÅ Vision software, the desktop software. There are lots of features that will be added in the future. As Andreas mentioned earlier, we are continually working on this, but this is currently the feature list and function list within the software. I will hand back to Andreas in a moment, but I will actually give him the option to say, have I missed anything?
No, I think that was a fantastic run through of the software. Thank you very much for that, Mike. I will make some concluding remarks. We want you to be able to get started, of course, with MALÅ Vision Desktop. And in order to do so, you need to create your MALÅ Vision account at malåvision.guidelinegeo.com. And when you have created your account, you need to start a MALÅ Vision Premium subscription. This can either be done directly in MALÅ Vision Web or by contacting sales@guidelinegeo.com to get hold of a prepaid subscription code that you can use. When your subscription is up and running, you can then download and install MALÅ Vision Desktop. And this is very easily done from the Guideline Geo webpage. I've taken the liberty to adding the direct link to the download page here, so you can, if you want to just type this in and end up directly on the download page. And then finally, when you run the software, you need to log in to your MALÅ Vision web account that you created during the first step, and then you can start processing. To get you started, I would also like to offer you all a free 1-month demo license, which you can use to try the software and get a feel for how it works. So if you are interested in this, please send an email to sales@guidelinegeo.com, and we will get back to you with a free 1-month prepaid code to get you started. As Mike mentioned, we are constantly improving the software, so new functionality is gradually being released. If you feel that there is functionality missing that you would like to see, then please get in touch with us either through the help function of MALÅ Vision Desktop or directly with an email to sales@guidelinegeo.com. We want to make sure that we take any great suggestion into consideration. So it's any input or feedback from your side is greatly appreciated from us. I would like to extend a big thank you to everyone connecting and listening to the webinar. As per usual, and as I mentioned at the beginning, we will add it to the Guideline Geo YouTube channel, so you can return to it there, where to view sections that you might have missed, or if you want to watch the demo again. Also, a big thank you to Mike for an excellent demo, and again, to all of you listening in, thank you for connecting and have a fantastic day.